You know, you got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
The Osage. They have the worst land possible. But they outsmarted everybody. The land had oil on it. Black gold. Money flows freely here now.
I do love that money, sir.
This wealth should come to us. Their time is over. It's just going to be another tragedy.
When this money started coming, we should have known it came with something else. They're like buzzards circling our people. We're still warriors.
I ought to kill these white men who killed my family. I need you here.
I am right here.
You've got to take back control of your home.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
See, what about him?
See who's doing it.
Expecting a miracle to make all this go away. You know they don't happen anymore.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yasha Allah. Priest Sabak.
Rob Judah, the camera.
Right, okay. H.O.I. Los Angeles. H.O.I. to the chariots fly. H.O.I. worldwide throughout the four corners of the earth. All praises to Yahweh by Shem Mashiach Yahushai. So we back at it again. Coming to y'all with another movie review. You know, West Coast style, just like we do on the East Coast, you know, team up with Nala. Now I'm teaming up with my brother Rob Judah. And tonight we're gonna preview Killers of the Flower Moon, right? With Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. All right, it was those two were the main actors and characters, the two main devils that the Bible speaks of in this movie. So, spoiler alert, you know, the movie just came out on October 20th. It's only been in the theaters 3-4 days now. It's October 24th. So if you haven't seen it, check out the movie first and then come back and watch the preview. We're only going to hit a few key points, some of the major key points, of course. And it's a very long movie, 3 hours and 26 minutes. You know, make sure you have your energy up because you got to catch every part. It's a very, very extensive and deep story. And this is the story of the Osage Nation, circa about maybe 1918 to about 1931. But the murders and the killings of the Osage people mainly took place during the 1920s. All right, so basically, the story is Esau being the devil that the Bible speaks of, killing off Gad, and when you check it out, even in the title of the movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, is really going into, when you look into it, is really going into killers of the land and the people. The reason why I say that is because this area was so-called Native American land in Oklahoma, right? And they called it the Flower Moon because a certain portion of flowers that used to grow on the land. Right, so when you really check it out, even in the title, is Esau is letting you know is killers of the land and the people. And the reason why I say that is because Revelations 11:18 tells you the Most High is going to destroy those that destroy the earth. Because when Esau came, he raped, robbed, and murdered and stole this land from the so-called Native Americans. When they first inherited America, what did they do? Not only did they destroy the people, they destroyed the land. Right? America's polluted land now, where the tribe of Gad more so was in tune with nature, and the land was more natural. Now it's more chemical, it's industrialized, and it represents the killing of the land and the people. So when the so-called white man came to America and raped, robbed, and murdered and stole this land from the so-called Native American, the tribe of Gad, and the nation of Israel, not only did they kill the people, but they also killed the land. So even within the title, when you check out that part of the movie when they talk about the flower, Esau is really talking about killing the so-called Native Americans and destroying the land, which they have done. Right? The land is not, and everything is polluted, right? Because Esau is so greedy, everything is the toxins, the water's polluted, the air, everything. So it's not only the destroying and the killing of the tribe of Gad, is also the destruction of the land, right? So again, is a story of the Osage nation, and basically they struck oil. They struck oil on their land, and of course, once oil was struck, the government, Congress, everybody had to come in and regulate. You know, that's just how Esau does. But being that it was their land and they discovered the oil, they were entitled to millions upon millions of dollars of annual royalties and profit and monies that came from this oil off this land. So there's an opening scene before I really get into everything. There's I'm gonna start from the beginning and get back into the story a little bit later. There's an opening scene right before they discover the oil, and they made a statement. I'm roughly paraphrasing, but they were having like a powwow gathering, and they were all sitting around, and they made a statement to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, they made a statement of to the effect of once we start to learn from white people, we learn their ways and we lose our ways. Right? They said that they said we don't know our ways anymore. We start to learn their ways. So one thing about this movie, y'all gotta understand, there was a lot of statements being made about the Gadites, knowing that they're the devil that the Bible speaks of, knowing that Esau is the devil that the Bible speaks of. It reminds me of the movie Natural Born Killers. Remember when Mickey and Mallory in the movie Natural Born Killers, when they went to see the Native American man, he was talking about the snake and how the snake bit the woman and poisoned her and killed her. And when the woman asked the snake, "Why did you bite me?" the snake said, "Bitch, you knew I was a snake. Why did you trust me?" So
Unde azan chesh konaila. Na joni es tingo yanya. E wako negla. Na joni e peshasho. Hatila beniyente. Na joni Bethne Shosat Nation Nishlan.
So it's the same thing in this movie. The dynamic in this movie is these Gadites, they knew that the so-called white man was the devil that the Bible speaks of, but they still was trusting them. And I'm gonna get back to that narrative a little bit more. But in the opening statement, before they even discovered the oil, that was prophetic of them. They said, once we start to learn the ways and take on the ways of white people, we lose our ways. So what is that? How does that apply to us as a people? Jeremiah 6:16, the Most High said, seek the old path, ask for the old way, which is the right way, I'm roughly paraphrasing. Because once the so-called white man conquered us, like we're about to go into Hanukkah season, and when you read the Maccabees, and when you read the prophecy of Daniel concerning on the Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah, the Maccabees, you read about what? How Esau, the so-called white man, conquered us, and he stamped the residue of the people. Meaning what? He crushed and destroyed and forced his ways on us as a nation of people. Just like you watch the movie Roots, right? When they say your name is not Kunta Kinte no more, it's Toby.
I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
Lord God, help that boy. They're gonna whip him dead.
What's your name? Say it. Toby. Who are you? Say your name. What's your name?
Toby.
Hi. Say it again. Say it louder so they all can hear you. What's your name?
Toby. My name is Toby.
Hi. That's a good nigger. Cut him down.
Meaning you become more Americanized, even though we know we were Israelites sold off the west coast of Africa, you know, but they said, listen, you're going to become an Americanized Negro and you're not going to have your culture anymore. So they brought that out in the beginning of the movie, how when we learn their ways, we lose ourselves. And that's the main problem with us as a nation on the earth today. But see, the tribe of Gad was very spiritual and they would see these things. But it was also prophecy, Genesis 49, that Gad, a troop would overcome them, or the United States Cavalry, but he would overcome at the last, because of course, the Most High going to raise up the 12 tribes of Israel at the end of the day and gather us back as a nation of people, the tribe of Gad included, right? So they show you in the movie that Esau, Martin Scorsese, which was the director, did Hollywood knows. And it was putting it with the Gada actors to say all these things about how they knew Esau was no good, right? So fast forward, Robert De Niro, his nephew, Leonardo DiCaprio plays his nephew, and his nephew comes out of the military and comes to live with him on the Osage land in Oklahoma. So
It was the cattle ranch.
right, yeah, the cattle ranch, right. So when Leonardo DiCaprio comes to move with his uncle, I think Robert De Niro played the part of an Edomite by the name of William Hale, right? William K. Hale, you can look him up in history. He was one of the main culprits of having the Edomites marry into the Osage Nation families and kill them off and poison them so they can inherit their oil rights and money, right? He says something to the effect, you can see it even in the preview, he says something to the effect of all of that money and wealth needs to be transferred to us. They're not smart enough, right? They're not smart enough, or they don't know how to handle that money. That money needs to be turned over to us. And that's Esau's mentality. Anytime so-called Black, Latino, Native American, and Seminole Indian, you inherit anything or get any position in the society, Esau feels like you don't deserve it. What's that that guy, Coach Prime, right? Even Deion Sanders, when Deion Sanders first started coaching, He was winning all them games, and the Edomites was getting mad and jealous. But they was like, well, he's making an organization money, but they don't like you to surpass or get higher financially, mentally, spiritually, knowledge-wise. Esau got to bring it. Even though it might be profiting them, they still got to control it and bring you down. All right, so fast forward, Robert De Niro tells Leonardo DiCaprio to marry into the Osage Nation and get that inheritance. So he meets the Osage woman named Molly, right? And she's already sick from so-called diabetes. But when you check out the Osage murders, the Osage Indian Nation murders, you can Google that, right? You can Google this whole story. This is based upon a 100% true story, all right? And, you know, many historians and scholars have spoken on this part of American history also. So he tells her, marry into the nation, because we're slowly killing them off and we're going to inherit. Once you marry into them, now check out what Robert De Niro told his nephew, right? He played William Hell, but his nephew was, I think, Ernest something, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he said, and it's totally legal. There's nothing wrong with it. No, since when is murder legal, right? But Esau, case in point, he's a natural born killer. And the movie preview that me and Allah did of The Creator recently is Esau is telling on himself in these movies that he's a violent, murderous man. He tells Leonardo DiCaprio straight, he says, listen, if you marry into them and they die off, or they mysteriously die off and you inherit their wealth, it's nothing illegal in that. It's totally legal. In other words, because you're the spouse is the number one that gets the inheritance. Also, when you check it out, the U.S. Congress was changing different laws during this time to manipulate to where the wealth would go from the so-called Native American Osage Nation to Edomites and others that married into them and mixed in amongst them, because they were purposely having children with them and everything. And they would say, oh, you got a percentage of Osage blood in you, so you inherit this and that also. Esau was slowly manipulating and saying, we're going to get all that money from them. Even though they were working on the land and make profit off it anyway. But certain of those tribes, full-blooded tribal members, they had natural inheritance to the oil because what? It was already from bloodline. Let me go on. So now once she meets Leonardo DiCaprio, they're talking, and she says, she makes a statement. They're kind of flirting with each other, whatever. And he said something to he said something to the effect of, I know what you're thinking, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And she said, well, what am I thinking? Or something like that. And he said, you're thinking that I'm a handsome little devil. Right now, you know, they got that saying, Esau got that saying, you little devil, you. But that's subliminally letting you know that they know that they're the children of Satan. God. Right? And he was looking at her. They were literally talking, and she was like, you're a coyote and you want my money. Right? They knew that the spirit she was coming out saying it. And he was like, no, you're just thinking I'm a handsome little devil. Right? And Leonardo DiCaprio, he don't be acting. Like when he was in the movie Django. Right? He's literally the devil playing a part. But I peeped that, and when you check it out, we're living in the last days. The Most High is putting the spirit on the so-called white man to tell on himself through Hollywood, through the media, everything. It's just blatant right now. And another thing, that's when you read about the Illuminati and the powers that be, right, the secret government, a lot of times they do that. They'll come out and just boast. You know, we see it in Hollywood all the time, right? That's why we do these movie reviews, because we're like, damn, can y'all see this? We know y'all that's woke can see it, but maybe these reviews can reach some of our people on different levels, and they can see that this man is the devil and he's telling you to his face, right? So it says it brought out, it brought out that these Gadite women, these Osage women, were literally sitting around having conversations and saying, yeah, they was calling them rats, snakes, possums. They was naming them coyotes. They was naming all these attributes. And remember, even with the tribe of Gad, they took on a lot of names that featured their attributes. So they were giving these Edomites these names of their attributes. Their snakes, their rats, their possums, their coyotes. They basically felt and knew in their spirit that Esau was their damn devil and married unto them anyway. That's Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is their wickedness. But what was happening then, Esau came, he's a master manipulator. The so-called white man's a master manipulator. Remember in Revelation 12, it says, which deceiveth the whole world. So he deceived and seduced and worked his way into these so-called white women. And a lot of the Israelite women, black, Latino, Native American, they have that weakness for the white man, like he's the knight in shining armor. So they give in to him, like knowing in their spirit telling them this is the damn devil, and still marrying within them. And what happened? All these Osage men and women, they said, when you read about the Osage murders, they said the official death toll they claimed was like 60 something, but they said reports put it as in the multiple hundreds, right? There was hundreds of them that were murdered, just like Rosewood. Watch the end of the movie Rosewood, or even read about Rosewood, and they tell you, the official death toll was 40 something or 50 something, something like that. But they said a lot of reports said the deaths were in the hundreds to 200s to 300s. So many of our Gadite brothers and sisters was murdered on this land for Esau to inherit the wealth and the money. All right. There was another scene I noticed where they were sitting at the table. An Edomite couple was sitting at the table, and they were looking at the mixed breed Gadite children in Esau, and the woman referred to them as they're little half savages, right? In other words, they're saying that if you're mixed with the so-called Indian blood and the white blood, you're a half savage, right? As if to say the Edomite or white blood is pure blood. But you so-called white people are the devil that the Bible speaks of. But then one of the Gadite women gets drunk. She gets drunk, and then she calls the Edomite, man, you savage, right? Because it was letting you know, Martin Scorsese, he put that in there to show you, we call them the savages, but we're really the ones that are the savages, right? Do you know, when you read about the Osage murders, it was also known as the Reign of Terror, right? The nickname or code name for the Osage Nation murders was called the Reign of Terror from 1921, I think, to 1926. Y'all can read about you can just look up the Osage. There's books and different articles on that online or whatever the case may be. Just read about the history of it. We're just commenting on a movie now, right? So she literally they call the baby, the little half-breed, so-called half-breed baby, the little half-savage, but then they turn right around and had the Gadite woman call the Edomite man, you're a damn savage, right? Because they knew in their spirit, y'all killing us off for our oil money, right? So there was another scene where Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, they called him in. I guess like he wasn't really doing what they was telling him to do. So they called him into the Masonic Hall to let you know William Hill and a lot of these Edomites, they were Masons. And they brought him into the Masonic Hall with the checkerboard floor, which is that's a symbol of the Illuminati also. And Masonry, right, which is full-blooded demonic organization. And Robert De Niro said, I'm a 32nd degree Mason, and you're gonna do what I tell you, or something like that. So then they paddled Leonardo DiCaprio to get his ass in order, right? And the 32nd degree Mason, of course, that's the one step down from the highest Mason, which is the 33rd degree. Even though in Masonry they say it's higher degrees or whatever the case may be, but the highest known publicly is the 33rd degree. That's when you so-called ride the goat, The conspiracy theorists say you go into a dark room and you have sex with something. You know, some say it's a demon. Some say you actually have sex with a goat, or you do some kind of sex ritual in a dark room, and that's how you cross the threshold and become a 33rd degree Mason. But Robert De Niro was saying he's a 32nd degree, meaning all this was Masonic, Illuministic behavior to transfer the wealth from the so-called Osage Nation Gadites to Esau. All right, in his greed. All right, there was another scene where they had the Oklahoma bombing and the Tulsa race riots, right? And they were comparing the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots to the Osage killings and murders, which was one and the same. Tulsa, Oklahoma was based upon Esau's jealousy of a prosperous, that was the original Black Wall Street, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Yeah. So it was based upon, just like Rosewood, it was based upon Esau's jealousy of what? That's why I tell you in Jeremiah, we got this ongoing debate about the 12 tribes are Negro only. In Jeremiah, it tells you Judah and Israel were oppressed together. So while they were being bombed, and the bombing and the riots was going on in Tulsa, they were being murdered. The Osage Nation was being murdered. So it's Gad and Judah being murdered for having prosperous land and property and businesses and money coming in by racist, jealous, envious Edomites. You know what I'm saying? So basically, now fast forward, there's a lot of this movie, man, is 3 hours and 26 minutes. Is a lot, man. We can do a 6-hour commentary, right? But I'm just hitting the key points. So fast forward, Molly, which is the Native American wife, so-called Native American wife of Leonardo DiCaprio, she's the focal point of Robert De Niro telling Leonardo DiCaprio, you gotta stay married to her. You gotta make sure the money, the inheritance goes to her, because once she dies, it'll go to you. So, like I said earlier on in the movie, when she met Leonardo DiCaprio, she told her straight up, you're a coyote and you want my money. I don't understand but that's the gullible, like the scripture said in Jeremiah also, my people are sheep led to the slaughter, right? Is the gullibleness of our people, like, you knew, you could see signs that this man was the devil and wanted your money, and they were still marrying into them, right? So, I think Calvin Coolidge was the president during this time. I don't think the movie said the exact year, but Molly, she was getting sick and dying from so-called diabetes, which a lot of even the sicknesses of the Osage people, it came out they were actually poisonings. And what happened is they would poison them, and then they would diagnose them with whatever disease, so they could just, it seemed like they're just dying off of that disease when they were actually poisoned, because the doctors were in cahoots with it all. Also, all the Edomites, a lot of the Edomites on the Osage reservation and land where the oil was, because of course once they struck oil, they built it into a whole town. You know, you got to come, because that's multi-millions of dollars. Back then is billions of dollars compared to today. So they built the whole town around this reservation because of the oil. So everybody the Edomites were in on it. And the ones that weren't in on it, they just looked the other way. So the doctors were in on it also. So they might have poisoned them, and they was dying from the poison, but they would say that they had diabetes or some other disease. Because a lot of times when they were just blatantly straight up murdering them and killing them, they were like, damn, you know, that's going to be too obvious. So that's why they said the death toll had to be much higher, because a lot of the deaths were not considered homicides. They wasn't ruled as homicides. They were ruled as suicides or just dying from diseases. Hold on, I'm almost done. All right, it says, so Molly went to Washington, D.C., right? She takes a ride out to Washington, D.C., and she goes up to President Calvin Coolidge and says, listen, you have to send help. They're murdering and killing the Osage people off for our oil money. Please send help. And of course, you know, Calvin Coolidge said, okay, da-da-da-da-da. So finally they end up sending the Bureau of Investigation, which the Bureau of Investigation was the precursor to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It was the FBI of that time. It just wasn't federal. It was without the
Before Hoover.
Right, it was before Hoover. It was basically like the Bureau of Investigation without the federal, but it was still for the nation. So she said, please send help, they're killing us. It reminds me of Hurricane Katrina when the blacks were hit. It's funny, but it's not funny. They were jumping on camera saying, George Bush, please send help, please send help, please send help. We're drowning, we're dying down here. And damn NBC News and CNN was filming that, but it was no damn help coming, you know what I'm saying? You down there filming the people begging for help, but where's the help? You got a camera in their face, get them out of that damn water, get them some food, get them out of that convention center. So she said, please send help. So they do eventually send someone to investigate. So as they start gaining evidence that, wait a minute, they are. You know, this Edomite William Hell, this 32nd degree Mason, he had a plot and a scheme and was ordering these Edomites to marry into the Osage women, and also because they were killing off the men too. They were killing off anybody that was inheritors, any of the Gadites that were inheritors of any kind of royalties from this oil. They were bumping them off and somehow transferring the money to themselves, right? So as they start getting closer in the investigation, right, and we always bring this out even in camps and stuff, as they start getting to the closer to the investigation, De Niro, William Hell, he says, you know, these strange deaths, I don't know. They said, well, what do you think it is? He said, it's probably the Negroes. So he's, through all that, what did they do? They blamed Judah. And they rarely had any Judite black actors in the movie. I think in the beginning scenes, they had like some of the train workers and conductors, you know what I'm saying, on the train, stuff like that. But you really didn't even see no Negroes except for when they showed the scenes of the Tulsa riots, right? But he said, man, I bet it's probably them Negroes. It's probably them Negroes that's doing it. So again, when the smoke cleared, Esau blames everything on Jake, man. Everything on Jake. When the smoke cleared, I mean, Esau, he's going to blame Jacob. And when you check it out, that's how it's going to go in these last days. It's going to go like that in these last days, when all the problems of society, especially America, and the things that's going on, all the social ills, is going to be blamed. That's why the race war is going to be so bloody. Because the so-called white man, in his mind, he's going to really feel justified in killing our people. Not only the hatred and the jealousy and the envy and all that, they going to really put it in their mind, these niggas are the problem. And society and the media is going to play all into that, and they're going to point everything at Jake, especially Judah, especially the so-called Negro. Everything is going to be on the Jew. That's why I said the scripture, that's why the scriptures say in Micah that the remnant of Jacob is going to be like a lion amongst the people, because you're going to push the so-called black man so much, he just going to come out fighting. He ain't going to have no other choice. So that's why it's going to be so bloody and bad in these last days. So finally, there's an investigation. Fast forward, there's an investigation, and these Edomites are, some of them are prosecuted, locked up, convicted. William Hell, in actual history, I think they said he got locked up and he was released around 1946. Rumor has it that he paid off a lot of the politicians for early release. He died a good old man, like 87 years old, whatever, enjoyed his wealth, everything, like a lot of these Edomites that had our people hung and things of that nature, like Carolyn Bryant, that had Emmett Till, you know, she died an old woman and wrote a book and lived out her life in privacy and secrecy and had a good old life and just chilled, right? So the character Leonardo DiCaprio, the report said he ended up getting life in prison, right? They convicted him for helping a bump off and covering up whatever, and he ended up getting life in prison. But when you check it out,
he got a pardon.
He got a pardon. When he so-called got sentenced to life but got a pardon. But Molly fast forward to the woman Molly. She ended up still living, right? But she lived a few more years and she died. And they said when Molly died, there was no mention of the Osage murders or anything at her funeral, with her legacy, nothing. There was nothing mentioned about the Osage murders. And she was the one that kind of blew the whistle and had to ask the president to come and investigate, send the Bureau of Investigation. But there was no mention. It's like, oh, we just killed y'all off, took y'all money, and that's it. You know, except for now, of course, when Martin Scorsese made the movie. So that's just some key points I wanted to bring out. Very interesting, very extensive history, very deep. When you go into you can go into so many deep layers. I know when y'all watch this commentary, y'all can make y'all comments, y'all can bring out other key strong points. I know a lot of y'all out there don't say you missed this, elder. No, that's when you come in. It's a 3 hour and 26 movie. 3 hour, 26-minute movie. If we touched on every point, you know, we'll be here till tomorrow. So I just wanted to hit about, 12, a complete number. That was about 12 of the key points I saw in the movie. But read the history, watch the movie, and get into some of the more intricate, deep details. But basically, Thanksgiving in October was October 9th. It passed already. So-called Thanksgiving here in America, I believe, will be November 23rd, Thursday, November 23rd. Look when they put this movie out. Look when they put this movie out. They put it out on October 20th, right between the Canada Thanksgiving and the American Thanksgiving. Because what really, you know what Hollywood really is doing? They're boasting about, yes, we raped, robbed, and murdered and stole the Native Americans' land and took their wealth. This was just a miniature part of what they did on a grander scale. And really, this movie is historical and everything, but they're bringing it out in Thanksgiving season to let you know what they did to the tribe of Gad. By Shimashak. Right, so that's my commentary. Rob Judah, you want to come in and make a few key points? And then I'll come out with a closing.
Kind of also let you know that this is not our rest.
Right.
Just like it was given, the oil company was given the Osage Nation royalties off the oil they was drilling.
Right.
I would like to do a scripture, Micah 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it's polluted, and it shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction. Right. So this is not our rest. We get all this wealth and all this notoriety, and we can still get killed by the so-called Esau, the devil, the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
So we got to be aware when we get this wealth, we're still under scrutiny. You know what I mean? So we got to be aware of that. Also, I noticed that they didn't mention like these Edomites was coming in and marrying these Gadites. And today we got a lot of $5 Indians.
Right,
you know, that's $5 Indians. That's even here in California with the Pachango casinos and stuff like that.
Right.
And of course we got the Israelis pretending to be us.
Right.
So we are the curses. Both these Edomite nations pretending to be Gad and pretending to be Judah.
Right. That's right.
That's all I have to say.
1800s, there was something called the Dawes Rolls, which was basically a census that made records of people's ethnic backgrounds in order to determine which Native American tribes would get certain land allotments and other benefits. After slavery, many black people were associated with some of these tribes by bloodline, through marriage, through adoption, and even servitude. And because they were associated with these tribes, many black people were entitled to some of these benefits. The government did not want blacks to get these benefits, so they created a separate freedmen's list specifically for black people. They also started to list any full-blooded Native American who had African features as black, because they didn't want them getting those benefits either. At the same time, they allowed white citizens to come in and pay money under the table to be listed as part Native American.
1895, 1896. When a lot of the whites found out the benefits that these blacks are going to be entitled to, a lot of whites went to the Dawes Commission and say, look, why don't you put my name on there? They said, but you're not an Indian. So that's the way he said, well, I'll give you $5. So then the rule got around, the policy got around that for $5 that a white could put his name on the Dawes rolls and be called himself an Indian and be entitled to all these benefits, and all their children could be entitled to all these benefits forever. And so that became known as what's called a $5 Indian. And so if you go around now and check most of the Indians, the so-called Indians in America, about 90% of them are not even Indians. Those are just whites now who are passing as Indians. But they're getting all the benefits. And they're not paying any taxes, getting free college education. They put up a little reservation on the land that they don't live on. They have another home off and get all kind of benefits.
Iron Eyes Cody was another famous Native American person. He was in the media for years. In the 1970s, they utilized him for this pollution commercial. He was known as the Crying Indian. So he was a very well-known Native American in American culture. But the reality is, Iron Eyes Cody wasn't Native American at all. He was Sicilian. Both of his parents were from Sicily. So he didn't have one drop of Native American blood in him. He was another fake Indian.
And it's funny you say that with the $5 Indians, because even with the casinos, right? And so like a good scripture.
Okay.
Even with the casinos, I did an extensive. They did an extensive article on that in the Time magazine. I want to say maybe about 15 years ago. I may still have that Time magazine in my library in New York, in my books and stuff in New York, but it was a Time magazine that I had got. It was a very interesting article they did on the so-called Native American casinos. And they said, they brought it out. They said the so-called Native American casinos, 90% of the lion's share of the wealth is the government and Esau. Only 10% of the wealth from the casinos. And they said a lot of times what they'll do, they'll just put like these puppet Gadites up there. They'll put them up there and pay them like $100,000 salary per year, but they're making the millions and billions of dollars off of the casino, the government on down. I remember Bill Clinton was mentioned, that devil, that saxophone playing devil.
First black president.
Yeah, Bill Richardson, that guy Richardson, he was a senator, governor, whatever, from one of them states. He used to always wear the cowboy hat, I forget. But the usual suspects were involved. And it's crazy because even with that, the so-called Native American Indians that they set up, a lot of them were $5 Indians. They were white people with damn appointing. Maybe a damn uncle was a guy or something. Right? A $5 Indian with they throw a ponytail on and say, we got a representative up here for the tribal nation. They brought out 90% of the wealth from the casinos is Edomite controlled. Only about 10% of the wealth is controlled by the so-called, not even controlled, that they get a share of the money. And a lot of times they're puppets. They throw them up there. They give them a job just to show, yeah, we got diversity. We got Native Americans here. But of course, the lion's share of the wealth is controlled by Esau. And that's with everything in this society. Everything. You cannot. Everything they're going to come and control. That money from the Osage Nation, that was supposed to be generational wealth. With discovering oil, them Gadites were supposed to be able to change the dynamic for the entire Gadite so-called Native American nation. But Esau said, nah, we're not going to have that. And slowly but surely, they siphoned the wealth away. And now Gad is on the reservation dying from damn alcohol poison.
In the beginning of the movie, when the uncle gave him the book to read, he was reading all the tribes, and Osage was a part of the civilized tribes.
Right.
They said that wasn't part of the civilized tribes.
So-called the 5 civilized tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and remember they said the Osage people were very smart. Yeah. They were gullible to Esau, but they were very smart. And that's how they really got together, and initially, they were very wise in doing that. They got together and made sure that money came to them from that oil. They were smart with that. But Esau eventually came in, manipulated, rape, rob, murder, and poisoning, and killings, and fake suicides, which were actual murders, and they siphoned that money away from the Osage people. So Killers of the Flower Moon. Check it out. Check out the history. Read about the history. Read up on the articles or books or whatever on this history of what happened to these people. Another tragedy in American history perpetrated by the so-called white man with no real punishment done to anybody.
Also, we also forgot to mention that Robert De Niro was being buddies with one of the Indians and put a life insurance policy on that.
Oh, they do that all the time. Yeah,
and he was like, no, we don't need him to die right now because the insurance company, and of course the insurance company denied his claim. But that's what these big corporations do. Like, there was a conspiracy about the Walmart employees that Walmart put insurance claims on sick leave employees and cash in and won't give them. But so that's what the so-called Edomite do. They put insurance policies on you and try to cash them in.
They brought out that they do that everywhere from the military to all industries. And being that you mentioned Walmart, they brought out that a lot of these corporations do. They secretly be having insurance policies on their employees. So you work for Esau and you think you're making a decent salary or whatever, but if your ass die, you get a couple of million off of you. Right? I think when they check it out, they said they insure U.S. soldiers. And a lot of the U.S. military is what? Blacks and Latinos. So if your ass die out there on a battlefield in damn Afghanistan somewhere, the government is getting money off you. You know what I'm saying? So that was good. He took the insurance policy out and said, no, I need him to live. Because if he died now, they're not going to pay. Right? And it was for $25,000, which was big money back then in the 1920s. So that's the same thing. Esau does that now, man. There's a conspiracy that they're doing that with these rappers. Notice in these past years, all these rappers, a lot of them are unknown. Like I never even heard of them. Because what? They'll sign some kind of deal with some new age record label, and they'll get bumped, and that record label got a $4, $5, $7, $10 million policy on that rapper. That's why you see hundreds of rappers just being murdered over back in the 80s in the golden age of hip hop, rappers wasn't killed like that. You have maybe Scott LaRock or one here and there. But these young rappers, these new age guys, they getting bumped off left and right because Esau got insurance policies on them. So same thing, they show you, even though it's based upon Gad and the Osage Nation, Esau's showing you what he will do on a grander scale with our people, period. Right, so check it out. It's the story of the Osage Nation murders. When you look it up, that's what it's going to come up under. The Killers of the Flower Moon. All right, check it out. A very sad story in the history of the tribe of Gad, of the nation of Israel, but one more bloody historical part of America that the so-called white man never really paid for. But you're going to pay when Yahushua make his second coming. Right?
Also, the murders was also punishment for the Most High for them breaking the commandments, marrying the other nations. I can't remember the verse that says not to marry the other nations.
Right. Deuteronomy 7.
Okay, Deuteronomy 7.
Right. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
And there was also worshiping a false god as well.
Because Gad had started to go off, and they were starting to worship nature and different things of that instead of worshiping the Most High. What they called the Great Spirit.
The Great Spirit, yeah.
Gad used to call, they used to call the Most High the Great Spirit. Right? So, like I tell you in Proverbs 26:2, the curse doesn't come causeless. So all this happened to Gad for a reason. But it's just the bloody, murderous spirit of Esau. Right? The Lord said in Zechariah 1, I was a little displeased and they helped forward the affliction. The Lord said the viciousness of Esau. And they, like I said, they showing you in these movies, they're straight up murderers, man. With no regard. That's Esau's nature. Natural born killer. Right? He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. From the time of Cain killing Abel, he's a natural born killer. But that's a good point, man. They kill with no regard, man. They don't care. Right? And in Zechariah 11:5, it says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Like you said, Leonardo DiCaprio's, his character got a part in. William Hell, he paid the politicians off to get out of jail early and live to be a good old rich man. You know what I'm saying? So they don't really pay for their crimes, man.
Nope.
Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible. And the brother's right. That was punishment by the Most High, judgment, because you was gullible You calling them rats and snakes and coyotes and all these names and still marrying into them. So that was also that Pocahontas, John Smith spirit, right? Still marrying into them, and that was a judgment on Gad also. Proverbs 26:2, the curse don't come without a cause. Everything the Most High does is a righteous judgment, right? And you know, whenever something happened like this on a tragic level like that, we got to ask ourselves, what did we do to piss the Most High off? So he makes such a judgment come upon us. So the moral of the story is too, don't be marrying into these other nations, especially Esau, right? And I'll end it with what I open up with, Sirach 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Just like Tariq, brother Tariq said, is there trouble in Zaddy land? like even in modern day time, a lot of these black and Latino women that are married to these Edomites and dealing with these Edomites are killing them off. They're murdering and killing them off. And
or taking their money.
These Edomites, they might have insurance money on these women also. They might have insurance money on these black women nowadays. And what? When you die, your spouse gets everything. So these, you know, Eve be having these good jobs with these, they be having good insurance on these jobs. So even to this day, you read in the news where a lot of these Eves are getting bumped off and killed and murdered by these Edomites, or they're dying mysteriously, and you see they're married to Edomites, or Esau is divorcing them, and like with Halle Berry, they gotta pay the Edomite man spousal support and child support. So it's still happening to this day. The Osage murders tragedy of marrying into our women and getting with our women so that you can get their money is still happening to this day. To this day! You know what I'm saying? So Proverbs 26:2 again, the curse don't come without a cause. Sirach 12:10, never trust thine enemy. So like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. All right. Micah 2:2, right? That's Zechariah 11:5. Salakia, they slay you and hold themselves not guilty. There was really no real punishment for the slaughtering and murdering of the Osage people. They just got killed off and their money got taken. All right, by Hashem Mashiach. Right, so killers of the flower moon, the murdering, rape, robbery, murder, and destruction of the tribe of Gad and their land, the so-called land of Americans. All right, check it out. Check out the movie. All right, give your commentary. Maybe some things we missed, you can add in there, add scripture, commentary, and we all get edified. Don't get simple and say, you forgot this, elder. It's many parts. As you can see, we just added another 10 minutes with stuff we could remember. And we just saw the movie, right? But anyway, check it out, right? Killers of the Flower Moon. Right on time for so-called thanks stealing, right? Because Esau's letting you know what he did in history. So with that, pre-Sabak,
Rob Judah on the camera.
H.O.I. Los Angeles, H.O.I. to the Chariots Fly, H.O.I. International, all the camps in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai throughout the four corners of the earth. By Hashem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Hope y'all get edified. If y'all learn one thing, we've done our job. Kwam Yashallah.
Kum Yashallah.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Come.